What is up? It's a figure hunter, and today we're going to do a comparison between the new Garmin Instinct 2X and its super big brother, the Fenix 7X, Tactix 7, and Enduro 2. Specifically today, looking at the Tactix 7 Standard. So you might ask the question, why would you do such a review between two very different type watches? Because I think the differences aren't that different. So as I am a long-standing sort of super fan of the Enduro 2 is my favorite watch in the Garmin lineup, but then now have been testing and reviewing the Garmin Instinct 2X, I've started to ask myself, wait a second, I think I'm using all the same functions that I would on either watch. And so what justifies the price tag difference between a $450 watch and a series of watches that starts at $900. So that's what we're going to look at today, is looks at the similarities and primarily the differences between these two, and just ask that question, do you really need all this stuff? Because it is literally 2 times or more the actual cost. A lot of the differences, as I'm comparing the two, a lot of differences simply come down to appearance-driven aspect. The resolution and quality of the screen, the pixels and the color of the screens, or the casing differences. There are some other major differences in some of the software features, but do those major features add up to all that stuff? So we're going to look at a lot of the similarities, really just looking at the casing differences as well as the screen resolution differences so that you can more discern, wait a second, I think I can read that just fine, or this looks just fine to me. I might lean towards the cheaper model with a lot of feature-rich aspects versus the more expensive models with a few additional aspects more. So with that, we're going to dive into a hands-on. We're going to look at a bunch of stuff and come back together and talk about it. Okay, so here you see the two side by side. Obviously, you can see the design differences, the overall casing differences. So we have the Tactix 7, which is, I would say, very similar to the Fenix 7X Sapphire Solar titanium. So you can see, that the Fenix or the Tactix or the Enduro line is going to offer the metal bezel and metal back versus the all plastic body. You can see there's a slight difference in size. Basically the Fenix 7X, the Tactix 7, the Enduro 2 are going to be 51 millimeters, as the 2X, the Instinct 2X, is going to be 50 millimeters. They're going to be a half a millimeter thicker, and we'll look at that just in a second, but you can just see the overall appearance difference when you look at monochromatic with lower density pixels, as well as the color and the differences there. But this is just how the case looks. I just want to look at just the overall differences, because I do feel like when I'm wearing the Instinct 2X that is about the same size. Obviously, there's a few other differences. So you can see that the Instinct 2X does almost look a little bit thicker, even though it's rated at a half a millimeter thinner. You can see the backing. You have the all plastic of the Instinct 2X versus the metal plate. So obviously, this is the titanium. So titanium plate versus stainless steel. It's another option. Same elevated heart rate sensor, same plug-in charger. They actually have both have flashlights that you have capabilities for. So one is more focused and one is more broad. But let's take a look at how they performed in a test for the actual brightness. And shockingly, here's the total summary of all flashlight brightnesses. The Instinct 2X is double the brightness of the 7X. Now this is the Tactix 7, but it also has the same flashlight, other than the red-green, has the same flashlight as the 7X. So literally twice I have felt it, but I was surprised to see that the Instinct 2X is really back up on the top end, similar to the Enduro 2. All right, so you can see that obviously the Instinct 2X is coming in at twice the brightness approximately of the Fenix 7, or what is here the Tactix 7, which is what it's got the Fenix 7X brightness built into it. So those are the differences there. Like if you just look at the overall casing and size and style. So when you look at like hardcore differences between the two, you have the basic similarities in the casing size, 51 versus 50. But over here, you have a touch screen where you can just sort of scroll through. This helps a lot with mapping. You have the full color pixels. As you can see the differences here, if you were to go into one versus the other, you would see the pixel density start to come alive, as well as the overall clarity of the screen when you look at the colors, and you have all the different sort of featurettes to it, but you do have all the same stats. I mean, it gets a little bit brighter. The screen itself just purely gets brighter on the Fenix 7X and Tactix 7. We'll just call it for reference going forward, the Fenix 7X. You have a heavier case, a much heavier case, 61 grams versus 47 grams just for the case itself, not including a watch band. So you are going to feel it more on your wrist, as well as it's going to affect heart rate accuracy just a bit. So the 7X is rated at a little bit lesser accuracy. Sort of similar between battery life, 40 days standby, 28 days, not counting any solar, amounts received. So let's just look at what's similar. So obviously the similar widgets, we just saw the weather widget. We could go into the body battery widget and see what the graph looks like. I haven't been wearing the Instinct 2X, so you can see just what the overall graph would look like if the differences were there. Swipe left. You can see that it has the same heart rate variability status, that you can, obviously the same benefits there. So you can see it gives you the same sort of picture, just in a different quality of clarity, as well as the picture differences there. Same training status. So you're going to get the same training status capabilities, just going to look a little bit different, all pixelated or just in more condensed format, as well as all the same features. So acute load, look at the chart there. What am I doing? I was touching that one. Look at the chart there. So it's going to, this is the quality of the clarity, the screen, the resolution, the color, all that has an effect. They both have all of the workout analytics. So you still have training effect, aerobic and anaerobic. You still have training load for each workout. You still have the improved recovery time, which takes into account a few different features. So again, the other thing that's a big feature is training readiness now comes on the Instinct 2X, which is going to be the same. If you look at the basic factors, it's going to still take the same factors into account. If you just wanted to see how the screen looks, again, this is more of just a screen resolution, screen experience difference between the two, because the stats are the same. So, you go down to the bottom, you can see what the sleep stats would look like, one versus the other. And you're going to get the same sort of basic picture, but it's just a little bit different quality, a little bit different density. And there you have it. So everything is going to be the same basic hardcore wellness and training stats, other than some primary features. Now, looking at some of those primary features, only the higher end 7X and all the Tactix 7 and the Enduro 2 have the dual band GPS frequency, which is just built in here. But in those higher band GPS frequencies, the dual bands, you actually get Sat IQ. I don't know if that matters. The other primary feature difference is going to be that you're going to have mapping. So within the mapping, you're going to have this full picture map that you could be able to access and zoom and scroll around once it's activated. So you can use the whole touchscreen to activate the scrolling metrics around the map, zoom in, zoom out, see all the different things. And with mapping, it's going to come other features, like a feature called Climb Pro, which is aware of where you are on a hill to see how much ascent you have or how much descent you have. It also is going to include some specialty running features like Pace Pro. But the mapping, big primary difference. That's the only other primary difference. And then the last primary difference is going to be that the Fenix 7X, as well as all the other models mentioned, you can see that you're going to be able to have the full-fledged list of music providers. So you have Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music. So when you boil it all down, the differences are going to be the case differences, the overall look. If you want a metal case versus a plastic case, if you want a lighter watch versus a heavier watch, and then obviously the screen resolution differences. So you're going to have a lot higher pixel density, as well as color, as well as a touch screen here. And you're just going to have the monochromatic, still really high quality brightness in the new Instinct 2X only, not in the Instinct 2. And then mapping and music. So that sums it up. Let's talk about what some of these differences may mean to you. Okay, so looking at a simple summary of the differences, you can see that there's the metal casing, the better screen resolution, as well as the touch screen. Just a very different experience there. That's legitimate. And then some of the primary differences are just mapping and music. Sure, with the mapping, you get other training features like Climb Pro and a lot of other, mapping and navigation, as well as other feature differences when you're doing trail runs, things like that. You also get the golf and ski maps, which I didn't mention in the hands-on part. So that's another feature that you would lose. Maybe Sat IQ, sort of the ability to bounce between all systems, the dual band and then singular GPS tracking, and then music, obviously music storage. But when you look at all these things and you think about the everyday user, which is what I am a part of, I do CrossFit for training. That's my training modality. I don't run. I don't go on significant hikes. So if you look at what that might apply to like the everyday user, even those that do running as their everyday sport, would they need the Sat IQ, the ability to bounce between dual band and singular GPS? No, they would not. And dual band is built in here, and the 2X, the Instinct 2X actually has more battery life, so you're not going to totally cut down by just keeping it dual band all the time. So are you going to use golf and the ski maps, like to be able to see how far you are from the pin? Yeah, everyday user, probably not. Maybe you'll use mapping if you're out on a kayaking trip or you're out on a hike. Maybe you'll use music. I like that the music's there when I would test an Enduro 2 or the Tactix 7, but I don't really ever use it because I just happen to not be out on long runs where I don't want to take my phone. I don't run. So would you maybe use the Climb Pro or the other running features? Maybe, but I really think between these two watches, if mapping isn't fundamentally important and music isn't fundamentally important, then it's really going to come down to the experience of the resolution differences or the look of the casing differences. I love the look of a metal casing. I love the color screen. I, am somebody that just likes higher resolution and color and things like that. So, that is a difference, but those are like the fundamental differences between the two. And does it add up to over 2 times the price tag? Because again, to get dual band on the Fenix 7 series, currently you have to go to the $1,000 price point. That's obviously going to probably change to the Fenix 7 Pro that's set to come out. So that's the differences between these two. So if you really are wondering, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are between these two, because now that the Instinct 2X has increased the brightness, increased the quality of the display over the original Instinct 2, which I did not like and did not approve when it comes to usability. So that is the primary differences. So the difference between the Garmin Fenix 7X, Tactix 7 Enduro 2 line of watches versus the new Garmin Instinct 2X. It's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.